I want to show you this. It caught my eye, this tweet from the Prime Minister. He has accused Nigel Farage of, I quote, I mean, everyone seems to be declaring war left, right and centre on everyone these days. He says, stronger rights at work, better protections for renters delivered by Labour and threatened by reform. Nigel Farage, he says, has declared war on the interests of working people. Let's just have a little look at what he was referring to, shall we?
We will repeal things that are unnecessary or against the strategic national interest, whether it's the lunacy of net stupid zero, or whether it's sometimes well-intentioned legislation that's having exactly the opposite effect. So, Labour's Employment Rights Bill, what's it doing? It's destroying jobs for young people. Likewise, the Property Renters Act, well-intentioned, but already reducing the supply of properties to rent and therefore increasing the prices.
What do you think to this? Are you declaring war on the interests of working people, Zia?
Well, let's decide who is declaring war on working people. Unemployment in this country is at 5-year highs. Youth unemployment for the first time in a century is higher in the UK than it is in the European Union. Unemployment at 5-year highs, youth unemployment, which is a complete catastrophe, for the first time this century is worse than it is in the EU. One of the reasons, key reasons for this, and we were warning about this when Rachel Reeves first started talking about all of these awful regulations she has brought in. If you increase the cost of employing people, which she did through her increase in employers' national insurance contributions by 2%, and you increase the risk of employing people, which she has done through this, as we call it, the Unemployment Rights Bill, then what's going to happen? Businesses will employ fewer people, and in particular, as Richard said, younger people. Let's talk about, the renters' rights piece. Again, just to be clear, of course, everyone wants to, renters' rights are a very good thing. But if you create a situation where it is totally uneconomic and too risky to rent out property, then all that happens is the supply of that property comes down. And anyone who has done GCSE economics will tell you, if the supply comes down, what happens to the price? It goes up. So what's happening? Rampant unemployment, particularly for young people, close to record highs, and the cost of renting a place has gone through the roof. So you don't have any employment rights if you're not employed. You don't have any renters' rights if you're still living at home with your parents because you can't afford to rent anywhere. This is what happens when you basically have student politicians running the country instead of people who have actually been there and done it and made important decisions.
Steve?
Well, if we're talking about student politicians, that takes in the half of Reform who aren't ex-Tory politicians. But let me say to you simply this.
What?
If you want, well, let me say, these people aren't elected. The gentleman opposite me hasn't been elected to anything yet.
What's that got to do with
well, he's the one who's making the comments about student politicians. I'm simply saying that Reform are currently a composition of defecting Tories and people who haven't been elected to run anything. Now, if I can go back to answer his points, what I'm saying is if you
don't need to be an MP, by the way, to be a minister, do you?
No, you can do it in this country via the House of Lords. Yes.
Well, yeah.
And I think one of Reform's proposals is they're going to bring people in from outside altogether. Do
you think we should continue so we have people like Ed Miliband and Rachel Reeves as ministers?
Do you think we would really be taking things forward if we were to allow employers to take us back to the days when you could be fired for being sick, where you could be denied parental leave, where you maybe had to stand in a queue for a day's work?
Who's proposing that?
Well, how many of these safeguards do you want to strip away? I sat on the Home Affairs Select Committee when we listened to young women who were propositioned by dodgy landlords in order to get a roof over their head. These protections don't come out of thin air. They're created because of the difficulties that people are trying to cope with as they live their normal life. And in a situation where you have desperate economic difficulties which you've inherited, the last thing you do is make it tougher for people who are on the lowest wages and the most insecure jobs.
Are you proud that unemployment's at 5-year highs then? You just said it yourself. The last thing you should do in a situation like the one we're currently in is make things worse for the people who are struggling the most. Are you proud? Are you proud? Answer the question. Are you proud that unemployment is at 5-year highs?
People's rights will make them worse.
Please answer the question. Are you proud that unemployment is at 5-year highs?
I think stripping away people's
Hang on a minute. I just want to be clear about this. Whilst this is a TV show, and I appreciate everyone watching, there's also lots of people who'll be sitting in their cars or wherever right now listening to this on the radio, and you will be hurting their ears when you talk over each other, so please don't do that. What is the point you're trying to make, Steve?
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
I'm saying that if you strip away people's rights, whether they are rights in terms of being a renter of a property or rights in terms of employment, you don't make them better off, you make them more insecure and worse off.
Right, so
and
which
that
rights?
is what is being proposed by reform.
So which rights is it you feel that are being stripped away?
Well, parental leave, the ending of fire and rehire, sick leave, maternity pay.
We are talking about repealing. We are talking about those, all of protections for those things. I'm sorry to take you down from your God complex here, which I think a lot of Labour people have. Those rights are not enshrined. Those rights were not enshrined by a Labour government. Those have existed in this country for decades. What we're talking about is repealing the new legislation that Rachel Reeves passed, which primarily brings the end, essentially, of an employer's ability. So what the situation that has now been created, and we actually speak to people who run businesses and hire people, including a lot of small and medium-sized businesses. And what they tell you, well, if you did, you'd probably have a different view, or you're not listening to them. What has happened is they don't have big teams of lawyers, so they can't afford to make a single erroneous hiring decision because the cost of them doing that under the new legislation is too high. And so what happens is, yeah, in theory, great, of course, give as many of these rights to as many people as possible. But the reality, and again, anyone who's run a business, as I have, anyone who's hired people, as I have, would have been able to tell you this, all that happens, particularly for small and medium-sized businesses, they will just stop hiring.
So you're in favour of fire and rehire?
The reason why young people, youth unemployment has spiked so much is because they're the ones that don't have a CV of jobs that they've done before. They are the highest risk people to hire as an employer. That is why youth unemployment has gone through the roof. That is why graduate unemployment has gone through the roof. So I'm not even going to impugn your intentions here, by the way, as Richard Tice said in that speech. He's not impugning the intentions. The point here is that anyone who has run a business and hired people and employed people could have told you the effect of the legislation that Rachel Reeves has passed and Labour have passed is the very opposite of what you intended. And you would do well, actually, to just say, you know what, employment's going through the roof, youth unemployment's going through the roof, rents are going through the roof, we're going to repeal it.
Well, there's no point in me responding to that because you're simply arguing for taking us backwards. That is what reform wants to do. You can dress it up all you like, about speaking to employers. And I mean, I don't know what kind of employer you were, but employers who are in favour of fire and rehire aren't very good employers in my book. And ask anyone who's been a victim of that how much they would appreciate what you're doing.
So when unemployment gets to 6%, 7%, at what point are you actually going to take accountability for the actions of this Labour government?
Well, unemployment will come down as the economy grows. That is the most obvious thing in the world.
How is the economy going to grow when you're strangling businesses?
It won't grow by stripping rights away from those at the bottom of the pile.
This is what I mean about student politics. We're going around in circles here. If you were to extend your logic, right, then why don't you just legislate to make everybody a millionaire? You know, why don't you? I mean, I think it's immoral for you to not.
Well,
I think it's deeply immoral for you to not pass a law. For you to not pass a law to not make everybody a millionaire. OK, so you agree that that proposition is ridiculous. That is the same strand of argument that you are making. You've got to look at the actual output, the actual result of legislation that is passed. And what has happened? And what has happened? Unemployment, the number of people not employed, has gone up every single month under this Labour government.
Unemployment was rising before this Labour government came to power. Unemployment is rising across Europe and indeed across most of the world at the moment. The world is in an economic decline. This is not unique to this country. And as I say, I hope your views on home affairs
America grew its GDP 4% in the third quarter of last year, well north of 2% last year as a whole. This country has barely grown. Was it 0.1%? I'm sorry. I want to ask you again, are you proud that unemployment is now at 5%? Sorry, at 5-year highs, rather. Are you proud of that?
No, make up your mind what it is you want to ask me.
Do you want to answer that or not?
No, I'm not interested in what he's trying to put to me.
Oh, well, this is going to be an interesting show. Then if you're not interested in responding to his points, we might as well sit here.
Well, if he's going to sit there and make up his script, what did you expect me to say?
Are you proud? I'm going to ask you for the 5th time. Are you proud that unemployment is at 5-year highs under this Labour government?
No one will be pleased or proud of unemployment rising, and no one is pleased or proud.
Do you not see how that? Do you not think it might be connected with the legislation that you have passed?
Well, there you go. One of you, or more of you, actually, more than one, might be, we talk about unemployment and all the rest of it, don't we? We bandy around percentages, but actually these are real people, these are real lives, and many of you will be among those unemployed that are struggling right now to get work. What do you make to it all? I can tell you now, at the start of the programme, I told you that Peter Mandelson had had his passport taken off him. Well, Peter Mandelson's lawyer has now issued a statement in response to that. He says the following. Lord Mandelson said there was no truth in the suggestion he was going to leave the country. He said he was willing to cooperate fully with police in order to clear his name. Apparently, the spokesperson went on to say Peter Mandelson was arrested yesterday despite an agreement with the police that he would attend an interview next month on a voluntary basis. The arrest was prompted by a baseless suggestion that he was planning to leave the country and take up permanent residence abroad. There is absolutely no truth whatsoever in any such suggestion, and we've asked the MPs for the evidence relied upon to justify the arrest. Peter Mandelson's overriding priority is to cooperate with the police investigation, as he has done throughout the process, and to clear his name. So there you go.